Hello, I'm here with Vitaly Geyman. Vitaly, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I would love it if you just started by introducing yourself to the audience so they know who you are.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. So, who am I? I'm an engineer with an MBA and a psychology background. I've decided to do all three. I've been a corporate executive for 15, 20 years, worked with Amazon, worked with smaller companies. I started my own company. I was a CEO of my own company for 15 years. Me and my wife, who's there somewhere, started. We run a publishing company called Pills of Wisdom. Right now, I'm both a consultant coach, CEO coach. I also run a podcast as well called CEO Insights.
And
That's
I love it. I've watched so many of your episodes, and I've gotten not only amazing nuggets of wisdom about how to run a successful business, but also it seems to be self-development in nature. And I noticed this theme throughout your work about balancing people with profits. And I'd love to just get right to that. How do you balance people with profit?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like the two piece. It's been a kind of I don't know how to describe it, an irritation for me for like since I was a CEO, and I always had this pressure of profit, from shareholders and so
Yeah,
on. But also at the same time, I knew that, people come first.
yeah,
And it seems to be like the more I spend time with people, the more I lose on the profit because it feels like I'm building a kindergarten. And the more I cut out the people, then it also doesn't work because at the end of the day, people are the ones who make the profit, right?
right.
So balancing those polarities were difficult, but it took me 20 years to find out, it's profit through people. You still
Ooh,
have to have your eyes on the profit, right? If you miss that, you're gone, right? Because
yeah,
you do have to monitor, be vigilant.
yeah.
We're losing profit share. We have no profit margin.
Yeah. And I see that a lot in my space because, as consultants, a lot of times those of us that are in the people business, we can come off as too soft, right? It's like we're all, trying to create a happy, fuzzy, fluffy world. And what executives seem to care about are results. And I would, I think the conversation of how do you balance those two is really important. So you run a podcast called CEO Insights. Now, what
Mhm.
are the chief insights that you would have around how you go about this business of balancing people and profit in such a complex, crazy time that we live in?
Um, well, I think the first one, and you probably can relate to it. Let's look at the organization of how it produces. And let me be very brief. Okay, profit is equals to people plus business processes, products, systems, and a business model, right? When you have all those four aligned, when people align with the business model, with processes that support the people, we add value to the customer, which then comes back as a feedback loop, right? As a profit, right? So it is literally that. It's a feedback loop. When you have all of elements aligned in that feedback loop, energy travels to the customer. It hits them with a lot of value and a lot of beautiful experiences that also we forget. When that value plus the experience matches what they need, we make money.
And you've worked with, I guess, what, 800 different people on your podcast. You've talked to
Yeah.
leaders from all over the world. In that chain of activity, where does it go wrong most of the time?
You probably can, as CHRO, you probably know where it's going to go wrong. It's always the people part. It's not. I
Yeah,
mean, the business system sometimes lack maturity, and it's frustrated for people to use. We create IT systems that work for them for its own sake rather than for the people. That is also a big part. But it typically, if the people are aware and you allow them to stand up and have transparent communication and speak up about it and listen to what they're saying, particularly at the cold face, the managers who are day in, day out, struggling there in front of a customer. If you have that communication, then your company will fix the systems, will fix the business model, will transform itself, right, over time to become a high value providing organization. If that's shut down, if shut down the people, if you controlling them, and then what happens is there's just not enough reinvention going on in organization to transform itself to best practices.
that
So
makes
yes, always people first, and then but at the same time, if all of that Does that make sense? It's unfortunately it's a complex organism, so you can't just say people, people, people. It has to be all of that.
And I've heard you talk a lot about this idea of a organization being a living organization and a complex organization. So I'd love it if you could just educate people on what that means to be a living organization.
Okay, well, first of all, it's organization that's driven by why, by mindset, by we call it context. So it's more it's not just a mechanical. If it was just mechanism, we don't need a why. It's just like you do 1 + 1 = 2, and we get it out there, the
Right? If it
product.
wasn't a living organism, it was just a machine. Yeah. A plus
Machine, you
B
turn
equals C. Right.
yeah, you turn the handle and you
Right.
produce the product. But people need a meaning. People want to
Yeah.
belong to a community. People want to feel happy. People want to feel listened to. People want to feel that they're contributing to something. People want choices. They want to be able to choose their life. They want to choose their vacation, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, as a leader, if you are sensitive to that, if you understand the motivation, what people do, you will have a living organization and you'll support it. If not, you will actually constrain it, put it in a box, and it will eventually die.
Vitaly, you have so much wisdom to offer leaders and CEOs. I just feel like you would be an invaluable coach, strategic officer. I don't know if you're for hire or not, but I'm sure the executives would love to bring you into their boardroom to help them achieve more success. How can people find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Honestly, I mean, this is not. I enjoy what you said, but it's really not about me. We need leaders, right, to lead organizations in this new way,
Yeah.
because we have millions of people suffering in organizations and leaving and trying to basically disenfranchised from the corporation. So there's a lot of suffering going on. And a better world, when people have meaningful employment, we have a better world. So it's not just about me. That being said, they can obviously come on my podcast. Where I'll be happy to. It's kind of a both podcast and an executive coaching opportunity where I do coaching programs for CEOs. I also do coaching programs for the executive teams, where I bring him and develop this living organization style of working. And most of all, also do strategy execution. It's easy to talk about this stuff, right? It's damn hard to execute on strategies today, because when we plan with one thing, and then by the time we get to execution, it's something else. So I really focus a lot on how do we execute in a short 60 to 90 days and get performance results, learn from our mistakes, kind of like an agile methodology. And so a lot of it is what we call developmental sprints, so we focus a lot on execution.
I love that. Tally, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being on the podcast and I look forward to having you again.
Thank you. Thank you.